All right, thank you very much, Brooke. I have been joined by the other 5 coaches that we have not had a chance to talk to. Coach Carey, do you have your microphone down there? All right, just want to make sure we're all equipped and ready to go. Really excited to talk to this group. I'm going to start here with you, Jeff. Just with last year, all the lost time, the practice time, all the things that you had to deal with, everybody had to deal with, but your team went through a lot. How much are you looking forward to this year, and how much more do you feel like you've been able to accomplish in this off season, getting ready for the season?
Well, I mean, the obvious is everybody was going through a lot of stuff. So, you know, I've been looking forward to this year since March, whatever, and just ready to erase last year. So, you know, I got asked earlier about the 3-on-3 competition that our players, and I think the nice thing for them was that there was a competition that was going on in the early summer that they were preparing for, and that was really good. We had 4 doing that. But, yeah, you know, I think every team's going to be at a different level this year because you've got more practice time. It has felt more normal. It has, with our young team, we've got a fairly young team at some spots, so it was critical that we have good practices here in the fall. And we've been inconsistent, which isn't to be unexpected. There are some good days, and there are some days that, you know, not so good. But all in all, every team should be, and we're not any different. We're way further along than we were a year ago.
Yeah, as you would expect. Jennie Baranczyk, welcome to Oklahoma. Welcome to the Big 12. How are you doing? How are things settling in Norman?
You know, settle is a very strong word, but no, it's been really awesome. I couldn't be more excited to be here, and obviously, you know, our team has been amazing. So it's been really fun just to be around them. And you know, yes, we're new and we're trying to figure a lot of things out, and you know, I've got my own kids settling and all that kind of stuff, but in terms of the culture and chemistry, I couldn't be more excited about just the way that we get to be together every day. So it's been pretty awesome.
And you're following a legend in Sherry Cole, Women's Basketball Hall of Famer, who was with the Big 12 all 25 years of its existence and did so much. How much of the two of you have you communicated, and you know, how's that gone?
Right. You mean like no one wants to follow Sherry Cole? Yep. No, I totally get that. No, she's been absolutely incredible, actually, and I couldn't be more proud. And you know, I got asked the question earlier, how much pressure that we feel as a coaching staff, and I don't. It's just an honor. It's really an honor the way that. This program, the tradition of this program, the foundation of this program, to have Sherry be so supportive in the vision of the program and the continued vision. She's been incredible. She's been a great just resource, but even more, she's just really become a friend. And that to me has been probably more special than anything.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Coach Littell, you were picked 8th last year and ended up tying for 2nd with West Virginia and went 13-5. You were voted the Coach of the Year again in the Big 12. This year, you're picked 7th again. Do you have anything to say to your fellow coaches up here? Are you being underestimated again?
It doesn't bother me.
There we go.
That really doesn't faze us. We've talked to our players about that from year to year, that don't put limitations on yourself, or don't allow other people to put limitations on you. And we had an incredible year. We've lost some good players off that team, but it's just an opportunity for us to play in a different style and different level. And I think our kids are ready for the challenge, and we told them it isn't where you're picked at the beginning, it's where you finish at the end.
It's true. It's true. And just what I asked Jeff, too, I mean, everybody went through all of the tough things related to the pandemic and all of the testing and all of the protocols and so forth. It's just how much more have you been able to accomplish with your team as far as player development here in the offseason?
Well, we were able to get them in earlier, you know, this summer. Last year we didn't get them in until August 7th. And just the skill development things, and being able to coach our kids and learn what the new ones are about and get them acclimated with the veterans, it's been a big plus for everybody.
Yeah. Raegan Pebley, TCU. When did you learn that Lauren Hurd and Aaliyah Jackson and Michelle Berry would return for their super senior years?
Well, really with all three of them, we just tried to make sure they had the information they needed to make their decisions, and really, really proud of how they went through the process, and their families and how they communicated with us. And, it was our job to gather the information, gather the facts. Lauren with her situation and opportunities looking at that next level. What's the best route for her? Again, it's awesome when you've got players who are so invested, and they, like Lauren said, they just felt unfinished business. And I can't imagine the way our year ended the year before. I've said this to that senior class, and then the season, what it was like last year for a lot of people. If you had to pick one, which would you rather? And honestly, the way it ended the year before, we would all pick that. Because you had the experience. You didn't know what was ahead. You were able to, especially the way that season went for us, the way everything was last year, you just felt like you constantly had a car that had a battery that at any moment was going to die on you, and you just had to wait for somebody to come and get you jumper cables and get going again with all the shutdowns. So they had unfinished business, and they wanted to do and complete their legacies here at TCU, and they made their decisions all about the same time. And, obviously we were thrilled, and their teammates were as well.
So kind of to follow up on that, describe the positives of that, but also the challenges, because I know as all of you coaches are dealing with, if somebody takes an extra year, that impacts my recruiting and all of that kind of stuff. So the positives of those seniors coming back, but also some of the challenges of that.
Well, I think the NCAA did a great job in being able to give us some freedom and some movement to be able to deal with it. I think also the way TCU wanted to handle it, and just make sure that that was a student athlete's choice. And if they chose to come back, then we were going to honor that. And I think, again, positives that those situations were there. The challenges, we had signed 4 freshmen before they announced, or at least committed 4 freshmen, and we were very transparent and honest with them that we were going to extend that opportunity for every player to return. So we have 17 on a roster right now, which is a big roster, and it makes practices really competitive. And sometimes our scout guys have to be really good to get into practice now because we have so many players. But I think, we'll see some of this sift out, I think, over some time, and maybe some opportunities for redshirting, maybe some opportunities just to be able to play a deeper roster, which we do prefer. But, we're glad to have every single one of them.
All right. And Mike Carey, West Virginia, I know you also have a lot of players practicing right now. I heard one of your preseason press conferences, but you returned 4 starters. Only Kaiser Gondrezick is gone from your team. Your team tied for second last year, and you made it to the Big 12 tournament final, but your preseason picked 4th. Were you surprised by that? And what are your expectations for the team?
No, I wasn't surprised. I mean, Jim was talking. I like being picked lower because that motivates not only our players, but it motivates me, and I know it motivates Jim. So I like when that is like that. So you can really go in practice and say, this is where we're at. This is the way people see you. And at the end of the year, if you don't want them to see you where you were placed, then you have to do something about it.
And as Raegan was just saying, they have 17 players. You have a lot of players. Now, I've sat in a lot of your practices over the years, and you've talked about not having a lot of players available for injuries or whatever. Now you're on the other side of it. What challenges does this bring, but what are you excited about with this season?
Well, it brings a lot of challenges. As we all sit up here and we have a lot of players, it comes down to playing time. I mean, everybody's happy right now until you start getting into games, and then us as coaches start, all right, this is my top 9, 10, 11, whatever that may be. That's going to be an issue. We brought in some transfers also that expect to play, but we're excited. Our team is working extremely hard. It's nice to go out there and you see them stretch. You have so many players. I got to go look at all of them, remind myself who some of them are. But, we're excited about
our program. We're excited about the players we have there.
Awesome. Raegan, back to you. I believe you return all 5 starters and many key reserves. I talked to Lauren about this, but I mean, you have a lot of the same players that you have, but then you have some transfers in. So what are practices looking like as far as being able to do some of the things that you want to do, especially with so many veteran players?
Yeah, it's been mentioned already by a lot of people, but foundationally, our program was rocked last year. Not being able to have the off season, where that's so much of how we, build and affirm and make tweaks to your culture, and not having them not just for the summer, but the additional shutdowns in the preseason. We were shut down up until 3 days before our first game last year. So with all of those new pieces, that was more than putting in an offensive and a defensive system. It was culturally and foundationally really hard. So I think this year what is really nice is that we've had that time to be able to coach skill, develop skill, add to the system, build the culture and the relationships. Chemistry is great, but in this game, you need synergy. And you need to be able to see that chemistry produce on the court, and that's that synergy. And so we've been able to start to see that happen. They get an opportunity, I think, also to have fun. I can't imagine what it would have been like for me to be in college and do what they had to do last year just to play. I don't know that Seal Berry would have left me on the team. Honestly, I think she would have definitely had done room checks and all of that type of stuff. But I just can't imagine saying, being a relationship-driven person, don't hang out with your teammates. Don't go do this. Don't go do that. Yeah. And they get to do that now and not worry as much, not feel bad about it, not feel like they're doing something wrong or they're jeopardizing their team's season over it. That has a mental health challenge to it, but it also, I think, like the chemistry issue and the synergy. So we're just excited that we get to feel a little bit more of that sense of normal and build that foundation again.
Yeah, awesome. Well said. Jim, you have a very young team this year, but some of your young players played really well last year throughout the season, but in the NCAA tournament, as you won over Wake Forest, and then you battled against the eventual national champion in Stanford. What did that experience in the NCAA tournament do for your team, and what are your expectations?
Well, I think it helped us build confidence, and young players realize that they were able to do more than they thought they were capable of. And our expectations are to go in and compete as hard as we can each day and do the things on a daily basis that will enable us to equate to wins. We don't talk about winning a lot. We talk about the process and what it takes each day to be successful. We had a lot of young ladies, Lauren Fields, Tay Collins, Tali Natoya, Lexi Keys, that stepped up and played well in pressure situations for us. So it's about those players changing their role, realizing that they're going to be expected to do more because of the graduation. And, I think those kids are ready to meet those challenges. We're going to have to play different. We're going to have to find a different way to be successful. But I like the makeup and chemistry of our group right now.
We're putting your non-conference schedule on the screen right now. You play against Tennessee and Auburn out of the SEC, also against Missouri State, who is a terrific team. Just how, with your young team, are you concerned about that schedule? Are you excited about your non-conference schedule?
I am excited about our non-conference schedule. I think it's challenging. You'll see a lot of different styles of play in those people, and you see a lot of different styles of play within our league. You'll see some zone defense. You'll see pressure. You'll see people that sag. And when you go challenge yourself with a non-conference schedule where you see multiple types of offense and defense, it's going to do nothing but make your team better when January rolls around.
All right, thank you. Jennie, when you were at Drake, you really had a positionless basketball style. Everybody could play all the positions. How does that fit into the players that you've inherited? Just from the outside, it looks like it's a pretty good fit. So what are you most excited about, and how does that fit with what you want to do?
Well, most days on the inside, it's a pretty good fit too. But no, I couldn't be more excited about it. I think it is. It's a different system, different style, obviously. But at the same time, I think it really fits the way that basketball's going as well. And so I feel like the women in our program will be very successful. It is a little bit of a change, but it's just a fun style to be able to play. It puts a lot of control in the players' hands. They're making a lot of reads, and so right now, it's been a minute since I've taught it from the very beginning, but it's been really fun, and the players have been very open-minded, and you can really start to see some players really pick it up and make some reads and really find their own game in it. So it's going to look different than it ever has, just like every year it looked a little bit different when I was at Drake, but I think now it's going to be really fun and just a little bit different level.
And we're going to take a look at your non-conference schedule, I believe, as well. And so as I look down at South Dakota, never an easy place to play. You've got Oregon in the Pac-12, Mississippi State, BYU, a number of teams that are really going to challenge you. When you played at Drake, you always were challenging yourself, playing against tough competition. But what is that, as you look at that non-conference schedule, what thoughts come to your mind?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna go at it right away. I mean, obviously, some of the schedule was with us, some was already done, so it's not, you can't take full credit for the whole schedule, obviously. But I do feel exactly like Jim just talked about. You want to be able to challenge yourself in that non-conference, and especially with a young team or a new team in our situation where we have a new style, it's really good to get challenged early, and it's really good to represent the Big 12. We all want to be able to do that, and so this is a really great conference. It always has been. It always will be. And so it's one for us that we take that with a lot of pride, that we want to be able to step up and be able to represent not just the University of Oklahoma, but also the Big 12 conference as a whole.
All right, thank you. I'm going to go on to you, Jeff. And you alluded to this. 4 of your players, Emily Ebert, Simone Goodrich, Aoka Lee, and Rachel Ranke, qualified and played in that USA Basketball Red Bull 3X National Championship this summer at Naismith Hall of Fame. How did that come about, and how does that strengthen your team that those 4 had that experience?
Well, they had qualified previously, and then the next year COVID canceled that. So then USA Basketball came out, and then they ended up bringing 8 teams. And I think 4 of them were colleges and 4 were ex-WNBA players put together. And so it was great competition. I love the 3-on-3. We utilize that a lot in practice. We, the short shot clock, 12 seconds. It forces Lee and Lauterbach to guard in space. It forces them to defend the three-point line. Quick decision. So it was a really, really good competition, and they ended up playing very well. The preparation prior to that was very well. They took ownership of the preparation. They ran their own film sessions. They ran their own scouts. It was a really, it was really good to watch a player like Simone Goodrich really gain some confidence. And she's a different player than she was a year ago. Ebert's a different player than she was a year ago. So there, Ranke hit big shots in that one. And then for Lee, I think it just continues to grow her game, and that she's got to get out into space. We know where people want to take her to, and that's an area that she knows that she's got to continue to improve.
Thank you, with Ebert, and pronounce her last name again.
Well, I'm going to say Ebert. Now,
Okay.
she might tell me later that, hey, I prefer this one.
Okay, yeah, that's right. We always have to check on that. Okay, we've been talking about non-conference schedules. Here's yours as well. You're going to be playing at NC State. You've also got at South Carolina on your.
Yeah, I knew that.
You know
Yeah,
that? Okay,
you
all
seem
right.
surprised by it.
Just checking, yeah. And Oregon as well. I mean, another great challenging non-conference schedule. Your thoughts on your schedule?
Well, I think it's, we got the preseason WNIT right away, so there's a lot of games in that. So we're going to get some answers very, very early. Everybody's kind of mentioned style of play. You'll get a variety of styles of play. We're going to get some great road games. When you're talking about going to NC State, going to South Carolina, great environments. We've got to go to South Dakota State as well. So we're going to get challenged. We're going to get some answers early, and we'll find out where we are certainly by Christmas.
Let's talk about Aoka Lee. I mean, just such a great talent. And then we find out she's a great baker as well. So just finding out all sorts of information about her. And she graduated in 3 years. I mean, that's amazing. But she's the only player in the country last year to shoot over 60% from the field and over 80% from the free throw line. You know, she's such a force inside. You mentioned the 3-on-3 competition. She started pulling out a little bit more. What have you seen as far as growth from her in this offseason?
Well, I think, you know, the adversity we faced last year, I think, will make us a stronger team. It took its toll on that team, and it took its toll on Aoka as a leader of our team. But you can see the numbers. She persevered. She had a very good year individually, but we need to have more team success, and she wants to have more team success. You know, we're not going to take her, I don't want everybody to get too excited. We're not going to take her too far away from the basket, all right? I'm going to let you know that right now on the offensive end. Yeah. Don't get too excited down here. We're speaking more defensively because I know where Jennie's going to take her to out on the 3 line, all right? So, I think the expansion of her game is being able to handle more double teams, being able to split those double teams, being able to read those things when they do push her off the block. Those are areas that we're continuing to work on.
Awesome. Jennie, as far as a few of the players that you have, Maddie Williams and Taylor Robertson, you got to see them from the other side of the bench, you know, having the opportunity to work with them in practice, and now Anna Yanusa coming back and joining that group. What's impressed you the most about them, and how have you been able to, you think, you know, maybe even help them improve and expand their games even more?
Yeah, as a collective, I've been so impressed with their openness. You know, I mean, they've established their games, they've established their names, but they keep working on their game. And I think that's something that's been really impressive, especially as a new coach and trying to implement a different system. They've been just completely all in. Maddie Williams, obviously, she's just special, and I know she's talked about extending her range, but her leadership and her ability, I think what I knew is everything she could do with the basketball. What I didn't know is how well she could move without the ball, and that's been really impressive. She's very, very smart. She's got an incredible basketball IQ, so that's been really fun. She also really makes the people around her better, and I think that's a really cool characteristic, especially in a senior leader. Taylor Robertson obviously can shoot the basketball, but again, another high-level player. I mean, she's a gym rat, which is no surprise to anybody, but she also watches the game, she thinks the game, she processes the game. Her voice continues to get louder and more confident as time has gone, and I think she's a lot more versatile than just a shooter, and so that's something that we've been able to kind of see in practice. She's even more physical than I thought she was, and that's only because I've had to guard her a couple times. You know, we don't have the practice squad that Raegan does, but yes, so that's been fun to be able to see. And Anna, she just continues to get more healthy, and you can continue to see her game and her bounce come back. I mean, she can just go forever. She's really fun to coach, and all of them have they've just really been incredible people and leaders of this program. So that to me has been the best thing.
Awesome. Jim, you know, Natasha Mack was such a force for you inside last year, both offensively and defensively. What are your plans for post-play this year?
We've got Cassidy DeLapp that returns, and Brittany Reeves, both at 6'4", and they've worked extremely hard in the off season, and they're going to have to elevate their game, and we don't expect those two young ladies to get 21 points, 14 rebounds, and 5 block shots a night, but they need to combine to come up with 14, 15 points a game and 12 or 13 rebounds. So the message has been do it collectively. We got to play a different way. We got to be more guard oriented, but our bigs have definitely got to step up, and they've got some big shoes to fill.
Yes, for sure. And Raegan, 3 freshmen and a couple of transfers. Who are you expecting to make the biggest impact with your newcomers?
Well, transfers obviously have experience. They know what it feels like to pack a bag and go on the road. They know what it feels like to sit in a film room and grow. They know the day-to-day grind. So, you know, they have an advantage in that space, definitely. So we're excited about both of our transfers, Coco out of Butler and then Tara out of Arizona. And then out of our freshmen, I think, right now, Paige Bradley's doing a great job. She comes from a great basketball IQ family. Her mom being a great coach and a great player herself. And she's, competed. She's always worked to surround herself with the best, whether it was in high school, coached by a legendary coach, or with her club situation. And she's just come in as ready as I've ever seen a freshman come in, and prepared for what it means to play at this level. So we're excited about, the development she has. And, the other freshmen are right alongside of her as well. So as Mike said, they're all feeling really good right now because not a minute of playing time has been passed out. If everyone can continue to stay in that headspace regardless of playing time, then we got something special. Right. But that's always a big challenge, that as coaches and as leaders on your team, that you have inside your locker room.
Mike, Raegan was just talking about her transfers. You have a 6'6" transfer in Morris. How does that change the role for Martinez and Nyblack?
Well, it gives us an opportunity. We're playing Carey a little bit at the 4. We're trying her a little bit at the 4. And Esmeri, we're moving to the 3 some. So, we can move into different positions. And I'll tell you what, since I've been on the women's side, I've never had a 6'6" player. It solves a lot of problems. I understand, Jeff, what you're saying. But, it's nice to throw it up to somebody. And not that Carey did a great job at the 5, and she created problems for other 5s. But, it gives us some inside. We also have Blessing back on her 5th year. So we're probably deeper in the post this year than we have been for a long, long time.
Yeah. Well, thank you all very much. I do want to say real quickly, Mike Carey, this summer, I understand, your 5th grandchild.
Correct.
So you have
Little
two
girl.
other, Jeff and Jim had their first grandchild this summer. Do you have any advice for them?
Just if they use the bathroom, give them back to the parents.
I was really curious about that advice, by the way.
Right.
As a mom, don't quote him on that.
Right, exactly. Well, thank you all. It's so great to see you all in person. Love being back in person here at the beginning of the year. Thank you for your insights and best wishes on your season. Looking forward to seeing you hopefully during the course of this basketball season. Back to you, Brooke.